This video is all about join statements. By the end of the lesson, you'll be able to explain the different types of joins, write a join statement in SQL, and write a join statement in Knex. So what is a join? A join statement is a technique for querying data from two or more tables in SQL. So when we have multiple tables that are connected by some common field, such as a foreign key in one table that points to a primary key in another table, we can actually query both tables, creating a third resulting table that joins the data from both. Let's take a look at this ranchers table. Now we have some information about a rancher and then a foreign key called farm ID that we could use to look up the name of the farm that each rancher works at in a different table. But it'd be a lot more convenient if we could just see the information like this, where we actually have the rancher name listed next to the farm name. A join statement allows us to take two or more tables and combine them based on a common field shared between the two of them. Let's take a look at some examples in W3 schools. Up here, I have pulled up the orders table. Now this is a great example of somewhere we might want to use a join statement because we have all these foreign keys. So let's say we wanted to see the order ID, the customer name, and the order date. Well, we couldn't just select these fields from here because the customer name actually exists in a different table. If we wanted to know the customer for this first order, we'd have to go to customers, look up customer ID 90, and see the name right here. And while that's okay for one field, it's not that convenient. And if you were trying to do that for all the entries, it would be a complete pain in the butt. So we can't just say select order ID, customer name, and let's say order date from orders because one of these fields does not exist in the orders table. We get an error. It doesn't know where to find customer name. So we have to actually join on the customers table and then specify which fields connect the two. Now we know that orders has a customer ID, which is a foreign key, and that links up to customers.customerID, which is a primary key. So if we say join customers and then specify with an on statement which field in this table matches a field in that table, we now can join the tables together. And we're able to see fields from two different tables grouped together into one. This will work on any foreign key, primary key combo. In fact, if we wanted to, we could join on the shippers table as well. And maybe we want to see shipper name in here. Oops. Let's fix that, and there we have it. So now we've actually joined two tables on with just two sets of join statements, and we're seeing columns from three different tables all together. The trick is that anything you join on has to link to the very first table that you started with. One other useful tidbit when it comes to join statements are aliases. We often have to type out table names multiple times, so it's nice to use a shortcut. So I'm aliasing each of these table names as their first initials. So now I can say o.customerID and c.customerID. Works exactly the same. It just saves you a little bit of typing. The next thing I want to discuss with joins is this idea of which data is included and which data isn't. And in order to really show you this, I'm going to have to edit this database a little bit. So feel free to either code along with me, or if you just want to watch, that's fine too. So the first thing I'm going to do is head over to customers and create a new customer. So I've just inserted a new customer. Customer number 92, Jim. Now if we go back over to orders, we can feel pretty certain that there's no 92 listed in here because I just created it. So if we run our join statement again, and we just do a quick scroll through, we can see that there's no Jim in here. He was not included because he's not listed anywhere as a customer ID in the orders table. So anything in this table that isn't somehow linked to an order is going to be left out. Now the same is true in reverse. If we go back to orders and let's say what I've just done is I've updated this first order with an invalid customer ID. Now we'd hope that our database would actually prevent us from doing this, but fortunately we're allowed to do it here, which will allow me to demonstrate my point. So now we know that this first order does not have a valid customer link to it. So once again, if we select everything using a join statement, we see this first order is skipped now because it was not able to find an entry where this link was true. So this default type of join is an inner join. An inner join will only select rows from both of these tables where there is a match in both cases. We might not always want to use an inner join. For example, we could use a left join, which selects everything from our first table. Our first table is the left table. Because think about it, if it were all on one line, this one would be to the left. So if we do a left join instead, it's going to include every single entry from our first table, but still leave out any entries from our second table that are missing a link. And we can see that this first customer is here now. We've just nulled out the customer name. Now there are other types of joins. We've seen the inner join that only selects matching data from both tables, or a left join, which selects all of the left table and only matches from the right. But we could also do a full join and a right join. And I bet based on these diagrams, you can figure out essentially what those do. A full join selects all entries from both tables regardless of matches. And the right join, which is not very common, defaults to everything from the right table. For your guys' purposes, I would focus on the inner join and the left join. And in fact, the other two aren't even supported in W3 schools, so I can't even show you what they look like. Now the last thing I want to show you is how we might write a join in Knex. So let's jump on over to the Knex docs. In the Knex docs, if we scroll down, we can see an entire section about joins. There are a lot of different joins in Knex. And as you get more and more comfortable with SQL and the different joins, you can explore this more. But this first example is really the standard join that we want to do. We start with our first table, use the join method to specify the second table and these additional parameters to link which fields come from which tables. And then we can use an additional select statement to narrow down what columns we want to see from each of our tables. So using this, if we're ever working with a database that actually has multiple connected tables, we can write directly into our code base a way to connect them together at the database level. Well, that's an introduction to joins. This is a very deep and complex topic, but you guys now have a nice baseline to start to work with joins and utilize the power of connected tables in SQL.